first step was to select specific people, to find out people who can do something and who communicate with each other. And I am absolutely sure that really effective communication comes between people who are really attuned to each other, who have this very, very special entanglement to each other. It may be men-women, it may be men-men, it may be women-women, it doesn't matter. It's not a gender difference. It is a topic of, I would say, spiritual interconnections. And if they have it, then they may be trained how to interact with each other. So from our point of view, when we've done these experiments, and we are doing these experiments up till now, it is very important to select people, to train them and attune to each other. Then it may be effective communication.
Do we receive messages from others without even knowing it?
This was a study to show is it possible to send and quantify, measure energy of healing, loving energy, sending. So if we send loving energy to another being who is not directly in front of you, but in another space, will they receive it? And if they receive it, how does it show?
Wow.
That was the purpose, and this was done with a team of researchers in Slovenia. So here we see that you've got the person who is sending energy. This is the right side, is sending of energy, and on this side is the receiving of energy. So from the right side, when you talk about, because the emotional heart is on the right, it is sending, so there is a little burst, and of course these bursts are captured.
And it's separate from the body. It's leaving, this burst is leaving the body.
Indeed.
Oh, that's amazing.
And the receiver is receiving it. And look at the shape of that too.
How far away are they physically from each other during the explosion?
2 buildings.
2 buildings?
2 buildings.
So this burst of energy traveled 2 buildings and went to
this person who was the receiver.
And this is documented scientifically as biophoton emissions.
Yes, yes.
If we attempt to send someone we are tuned into a message with our mind, will they hear it? Will they receive it?
Protocol where we have instruments on both people, both sender and receiver, and they physically situated in different places, and it may be in different places in Moscow and St. Petersburg, or Moscow to St. Petersburg, or Himalaya to Moscow, Nepal to Moscow, Venezuela to Moscow. So we did a lot of experiments of this kind. In any situation we have time that is correlated to astronomical time, and it's all now possible by GPS to correlate all this. And we were able, and we are measuring moment of sending emotion, because we are sending not images, not some pictures, not letters, but we are sending emotions. And the aim to detect those emotions on the other end. So we are measuring sending and response from biophysical measurements. This is electroencephalography, electrophotonics, and balancing platform. So we can really detect the moments of sending and receiving. And in all our experiments we demonstrate that it is no time shift.
Not zero.
Zero.
Instantaneous action at a distance.
Absolutely. Instantaneous effect.
As new science builds a strong case for mental telepathy that is faster than the speed of light, how will this instantaneous communication at a distance change our views and knowledge about how powerful each and every one of us really is.
That after all our experiments on telepathy, it became clear that in principle you can contact any person in the world if you can attune yourself to this particular person. And of course it needs some training, it needs some imagination, you should be trained how to do this, but in principle it's not very difficult. And I don't like, for example, to make telephone calls. For me it's boring to press buttons, then it's busy line, then it's again busy. So when I need to contact someone, I just contact this person in mindset, and they ask person to call me, and it works very well. So it's people usually call and contact somehow, and it works really brilliant.
Could a telepathic message be sent from the moon back to Earth? In 1971, Apollo 14 astronaut Edgar Mitchell believed the powers of the human aura and mental telepathy were so profound he conducted an experiment while he was on his way back to Earth from the moon.
Astronaut Edgar Mitchell, one of our team of 2 astronauts who were the last group, I think, to walk on the moon. This was the 3rd group to walk on the moon. On his way back, decided to do a psychic communication experiment. He didn't tell his superiors about it, but he'd arranged with several psychics on the ground back here on Earth to try to send them psychic messages about cards. There's a set of cards called the Zener cards, which have patterns on them, and during several intervals on the way back from the moon, he was 200,000 miles or more from the Earth at some of those times, he would send these signals back to psychics on the Earth. When he got back, he compared what he was sending with what they'd picked up, and the answers that they had received were accurate enough, they were well above chance, and they were showing that ESP was working even over those large distances. So at our present time, it appears as though that we don't know of any limits in terms of distance or time for psychic communication.
Subtle energies all go faster than light. Now, I'll ask you to visualize a reaction equation, as if you've got a blackboard in front of you, and I'll write mass with arrows back and forth to energy. That is basically what we've done for the last 400 years in orthodox science. And the connection link is Einstein's E equals mc squared. Well, now we want to expand traditional science to include human consciousness. Our experiments show that works now in this world that we live in. But we don't all agree what consciousness is. So let's not ask what consciousness is, let's ask what consciousness does.